Hello, everybody, and welcome to Master Tape Theater. We are the world's first and only video podcast dedicated to the history and preservation of live audience concert recordings. And I am your host, the one-man crime spree, the world champion of videos, and the man that's causing all of this, Roy Goddamn. And I am, of course, joined by my esteemed colleague. He is the Duke of Danzig, the Alpha Romeo, Eric, the ladies fight for his delight, Lawton. How you doing this week, dude?
I'm a little worried about my boy Doyle, man. You know, Doyle from the Misfits. He's I don't know. He's been having troubles ever since he bumped into that Blue Hilda chick, man, and she took over his life. And he's been saying a lot of dumb shit in the media, and you know,
yeah,
I just hope
I think I saw that he had a story saying that he's forced to do meet and greets because scumbag fans are stealing music. I'm not sure about you, but did you download the last Doyle album? Because
I did not listen to the last Doyle. I listened to the first
that
one.
That right there is the true reason why you're forced to do meet and greets, because nobody wants to hear your fucking music, Doyle. So anyway, man, it's definitely sad. Definitely.
I think that, you know, I think he was doing okay, and then, you know, he ran into that chick from Arch Enemy, and I think things have started to go downhill for him. You know, he's gone vegan. You know, he's lost a lot of weight.
For those of us that are watching at home that don't have any idea what the fuck we're talking about right now, we're talking about Doyle from the Misfits, the legendary punk band, horror punk band, the Misfits. He's actually shacked up with the singer of Arch Enemy, who is their new lead vocalist. She's actually been in the band for a while. Her name is Alyssa, I think.
Alyssa White Clues.
Right, man. So she's like this crazy vegan chick, and they just get trashed on the internet all day, every day. But
for good reason, bro.
Yeah, I mean, she won't let this guy have a hamburger. It's all messed up.
It's bad.
Didn't you say something about he erased his fucking Misfits tattoos?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. So they, you know, he kind of orchestrated or worked really hard to get Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only of the Misfits to reconcile and do this reunion. But I guess they had some contract dispute on this this last gig they're doing in Chicago coming up this year. And he was out for a minute there. You know, they were going to do it without him or something, you know. And I think Blue Hilda, you know, Alyssa, is behind all of it. I think she's talking in his ear, you know, put thoughts in his head. But anyways, he was mad, and he was out of the show for a minute there, and he had his Misfits tats erased, which, I mean, I don't know.
That's pretty crazy stuff, man.
The things you do for love, man. Give the guy a blue muff, and he goes crazy.
So this week was actually kind of messed up for me a little bit too. I mean, not only did we get the horrible news that Doyle is going to have to keep selling his signatures against his will at fan conventions, I also missed out on my big bucket list moment to film Ice Cube. And let me tell everybody what happened. I had a ticket hookup here in Vegas. And the guy had said he could get me front row balcony seats. These are special tickets. Upstairs, there's no obstruction. It would have been beautiful. So this falls through. And so I go down to the box office of the House of Blues. And I tell the guy I want to buy some tickets. And he tells me that the only thing available is general admission seating. So all the tickets upstairs are a no-go, so pretty much I'm shut out of filming, and I'm sure I could have bought from a scalper, but he gives us a number to a guy who's the VIP seating guy who is in charge of selling special tickets to special stupid tourists in Las Vegas, because living in Las Vegas is not all it's cracked up to be, and you know, they wrangle in people and say, you know, we'll put you in a VIP booth, and it's like $500 for the booth, or it can be even worse. It could be like $500 a person, and they give you bottle service. And so that would have been the only way for me to have a controlled situation to shoot the show. So I had to pass.
Now I've been to the House of Blues at least 30 fucking times, dude, and there is not a $500 seat in the house in that motherfucker, dude. In any of the House of Blues.
I mean, we looked at it and they were raised up like little round circular, like a table with two chairs. And
I was standing right behind the VIP seats at that ministry gig last month, dude. They were right in front of me, and I mean, you could stand behind at the bar right there, and the VIP's right in front of you, and you can see the band.
Well, I mean, I had come up with a system, because the House of Blues is not an easy place to film. I mean, like, the
sound is fucking horrible.
Well, the thing is that they say all on their website you can use your cell phone, and they have no restrictions on cell phones. So here's what I was going to do. I was going to get front row balcony seating, and my wife actually has a Galaxy Samsung S9 Plus, and the camera on that phone will shoot 60 frame per second ultra high definition video. So I was going to sit front row balcony and shoot that, and she was going to do backup shots. I was going to actually record the sound with an external device and then put the video and the sound back together using the cell phone just on my knee, with absolutely no threat of any type of security stopping me or anything, because it says no personal video rigs, no external microphones. But I mean, concealing a microphone would have been simple, and filming that show with that Galaxy Samsung phone would have been beautiful, because they actually have eye in the sky, basically. It's surveillance cameras in the ceiling of the House of Blues. So if I whip out a full video camera, shit's going down. They're probably going to find me from a remote location, because when you're in there, the security, you're under the impression that there really is no security. But when you go to the House of Blues in Las Vegas, or to any casino in Las Vegas, there are cameras everywhere. They can see everything you're doing. So if I would have whipped out a video rig, we'd have had a no-go. But I had worked out a full system to work around that. So I'm actually giving away all of my secrets here, but I hope to go to the House of Blues and use that system next time when my ticket hookup can provide the tickets, and make sure that we don't have to pay $500 a person for a VIP booth or whatever, because it would have been horrible video if I'd have done it that way, and I don't want to ruin my big coming out party for some lackluster video shot from the VIP booth that I paid way too much for. But so also last week on the show, beating up Kiss about lip syncing is becoming a full-time job, man. I mean, me, you, other guys on the internet, we're all kind of like, I'm actually getting kind of tired of it. But last week we actually called out three sides of the coin. And those guys, they're not happy about it. They kind of run a little behind our show, so they haven't been able to respond yet. But I thought what we could do right now is maybe we should call them here live on the show, dude.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. I want to call Michael Brandvold right here live on the show from Three Sides of the Coin. I've got his number right here. Let's dial up Michael Brandvold. I'm gonna *6-7 this, so so he won't know who I am. 415-200-848. Okay, so I got his number dialed in, and so let's see here. Let's try to put him on speakerphone, and I'm just gonna go for it right now, man. This is live and uncut with no net.
We got ringing or what? Come on, Mike, pick it up. Don't be a pussy, Mike.
Please leave your message for 415-200-848.
Well, it looks like he doesn't want to answer for a restricted number, but I have a backup plan. Since Michael Bramble didn't answer the phone, I had a question ready to go for him. Let's call up Mark Cicchini, the Kiss Video King, and let's see if he can answer for the show. I mean, I want us to work out our differences because I don't agree with the way that they do their show, man. So let's see here. I got Cicchini. I actually have 2 numbers on this guy here, so this might take a second. It is 586 577 7 and 5. Okay, here we go. Let's talk to Mark.
Subscriber you have dialed is not in service. If you feel you've received this message in error, please hang up and try your call.
And later, message PA15756. The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
Ooh, sounds like maybe the Video King's having problems paying his phone bill. I'll try his other number here. This number was actually obtained from one of his lifelong friends, who I'm sure he would be real happy to know was more than eager to share his number with us. So anyway, I've got his other number here. It is 586.
We're all friends here in the Kiss Army, bro.
783 8 1. All right, and let's give it another shot. I'm pretty sure this has got to be this guy's cell phone. There's no way I'm going to come up batting another loser here. Oh shit.
Come on.
I think we're not going to get this guy. Come on. Man, this guy has all the best Kiss videos. He better answer. He's got way better Kiss videos than me.
Does he really?
Yeah, man, he's the Kiss Video King.
But there's 3 sides to the coin, man. I mean...
Man, that's a bummer. I think he may have hung up. I'm not sure. Not sure. So yeah, there it is. We were unsuccessful with reaching Michael Brandvold and Mark Cicchini, the Kiss Video King, from 3 sides of the coin. But I'm sure that they're going to know that we called. So, I mean, that's good enough for me. I just really wanted to know, do they really believe that Kiss isn't lip syncing? I had a few other questions. I was hoping that maybe Michael Brandvold could help me out with picking up some ladies. You know what I'm saying, man? I mean, he seems to have all the good moves. I was going to see if maybe he could hook me up with that Lisa girl's number from the show. You know,
are we going to like have her on here and sexually harass her on our show? Or I mean,
yeah, I mean, you know, I was just going to see if maybe, you know, he could hook me up with Lisa. But anyway, man, this week we are visited by Fresno Media Restorations. Now, if you are not aware of this guy's video channel, it's incredible. His name is Danny Miller. He's the mastermind behind the channel. He actually scans in these original Super 8mm films. He has every band from the 70s, a lot of the year 1978, man. He's got Heart, Angel, Cheap Trick. I mean, you name it, it's on there. Blue Oyster Cult.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, The Gods from Casablanca. I mean, super rare footage. But this guy actually scans in all of these tapes, and he actually goes in Adobe Photoshop and cleans up each and every frame. So we're going to have a link in the descriptions on his channel. But that's
pretty meticulous.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So this is me and Danny Miller from Fresno Media Restorations getting together to talk about a little bit of the voodoo video magic that he does. Let's get to it. So right now I'm happy to be joined by Danny Miller of Fresno Media Restorations. Danny does a lot of amazing work with restoring old Super 8 concert films. he is actually the owner of some of the most famous concert films ever recorded. Notably would be the Van Halen 1978 and 1978 Sealand Arena recordings. So how did you actually discover audience recording? When did you first see moving pictures of video shot from the audience without permission? How did you become aware of all of this, man?
Actually, I'm an audio guy, so I became aware of the audio first, actually. Bootleg records, Blueberry Hill, Led Zeppelin. I think that's probably the first bootleg record I ever heard. And then actually, funny story, I'm a musician. So in 1977, I was playing in this group, and this guy had an 8-track tape and it had Ted Nugent on it, selling Arena. And he's playing it in his car, and I'm going, wow, where did you get this? You know, and he told me, oh, this guy records the stuff and he sells these 8-tracks. And so that's the first time I ever heard an actual Fresno bootleg, and it was pretty amazing, actually. And that was, you know, late 1977. And then later on, one thing led to another, and I ended up meeting these guys, the sound guy, the audio guy, not the film guy. I mean, I met him, but we weren't really friends at first. I mean, as much as the audio guy, because he wasn't going to let me anywhere near him, because he wanted to be the guy in control of it. It's kind of a manipulator. So that's how it happened. That's how that happened. Mm-hmm. You know, I was playing in bands, or playing in a band, and I heard some stuff, and then later on we played a couple shows.
So do you remember what that very first 8-track recording was that you heard, just out of curiosity, man?
Ted Nugent. So
awesome.
1976. And that's a damn good one to start off with, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you found out that these guys were filming at the Sealand Arena. So to make this clear with everyone, Danny has recorded shows himself, plenty of shows, but he has actually come in control of all of these films and become the owner of all of these films through what sources, I'm not sure. We'll get to the bottom of that here today, but you actually got a hold of all of these films, and you've been restoring them and putting them up on YouTube for people to see. I'm really, your channel is one of my favorites, man. I gotta say that I have a soft spot for the really early footage, and some of this footage that was shot in Fresno, Van Halen, Heart, you've got the Steve Miller Band up there, a really beautiful Cheap Trick video that really blew me away, man. I mean, I have literally, like, I'm envious of that stuff, because when I started shooting video, I mean, some of that Super 8 footage that you have and that was shot in that arena is better than some of the video stuff. I mean, you guys were limited because you could only use, the reels. How long were each reel, man?
They were 50 feet, or about 3.5 minutes, actually 3 minutes, 26 seconds approximately, but sometimes it's shorter. Sometimes it's not 3.5 minutes. Some of them are only 2 minutes. Why? I don't know. Maybe the film got damaged when they were processing it, or maybe it was just a short cartridge. I don't know. But some of them are shorter, but most of them are, 3.5 minutes, 50 feet.
So what can you tell us about the way that it was done back then? I mean, who brought in the gear? Did they even check people back then? I mean, how was the process done? And I mean, what would it be like? You would just shoot 3.5 minutes, and be limited by how many reels you could afford to buy? I mean, give me a little bit of insight on how it was done and how much footage they would capture at each show, man.
At first, they would just walk the stuff right through the door. And I'm talking about things like, let me see. Can you see this?
Yeah, I sure can, man. That's awesome.
This is the actual camera, the Fuji
Right.
single 8 camera. This thing pops open and film cartridge goes in here. I don't know. It's
Really cool, man.
anyway, there was this, and then there was also this thing right here. I don't know if you can see that, but this
Right.
is this connected up through a MIDI DIN jack,
Uh-huh.
and then a microphone went in here somewhere. And so anyway, this was a cassette recorder that connected up to this thing.
Awesome, man. So you had the actual sound to go with the video. Really cool.
Right, it was a Q-tape. When you click this trigger, it would trigger this. It would take off going. Then when you let off, it would stop. It was all set up. I can't remember what they called it, but I might say on here. It's called a Fujica Pulse Sync Quarter. That's what it's called. And basically what it does is it has stereo mic that plugged into it, and it would record 2 channels on one side of the cassette. And the other side, it would record one beeping thing. It actually sounded kind of like this, because every time a frame or a sprocket hole, every time a sprocket hole went by, that's what triggered it. That's what triggers the scanner too, to take the images. So they just walked this stuff through the door, tripod, this thing, the microphone, the film camera, and then something along the lines of this. Hang on, I don't know if you can see this. Hang on a second. Okay, here you go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Actually, Willie Salas, who was one of the people from the network, had that same machine and showed me that. That is a really cool piece of equipment. I am familiar with that.
Yeah, this is a JVC, I think it's called a KD, yeah, KD2. No limiter. The other guy used a limiter. So in this recorded Oklahoma City, 1978, Van Halen, and everything else. It also did, well, I don't know, the filmer, this was his actual machine. And so, I mean, this is pretty big.
Yeah, really big. I mean, so you literally, they were able to just walk that equipment in without problems. I mean, did it ever become a problem where they tried to stop them or anything that you might know about?
Well, they eventually went to using a wheelchair. And actually how that happened was when the filmer went back to Oklahoma City sometime between, I don't know if it was late July. And he had a friend back there who worked at a medical supply business, and he gave him the wheelchair, and that was the first time he ever used it, was in Oklahoma City. And he had to sit in that thing all day in the sun, and then the people that took him there didn't want to stay. They go, to hell with it, we're leaving. And he had to walk home with the wheelchair and everything. He had the film camera, everything. He had to walk home with all the stuff, pushing it in a wheelchair. So that was how that started. So the wheelchair, they could conceal the stuff in there. But in the beginning, they just walked it through. Later on, they started getting more suspicious, and it became more difficult. But they still got in. They had at Selland Arena. I don't know if you want me to correct you, but it's Selland Arena. Anyway,
Yes, no problem. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay, so
Selland Arena. It's very close to Sealand.
well, that's what they said when they broadcast Van Halen from 1992 on Westwood One. They called it the sleepy little town of Fresno and the Salon Auditorium. I never quite understood that. You know, what's the deal? It's not an auditorium; it's an arena, and it's anyway.
So tell me a little bit about the process that you're using to transfer the films, man. How are you doing what you're doing? I mean, these 1080 captures that you're doing, I mean, they look absolutely stunning, man. I mean, really incredible stuff.
Those are done with a film scanner, which is takes an individual snapshot of each frame. And so it starts out at, let's say 00004, and then it'll go up to about 3,600 something. So there's about 3,600 frames for each 50 feet. And what the scanner is triggered. There's a trigger that is the sprocket holes, and there's an LED that shines through there. And every time the thing goes through the LED, the light goes through the sprocket hole, and it triggers the camera to take a snapshot. And that's how it's done. with a scan. Well, that's how it was done then. But we did it other ways as well. Oh, wait a minute. See this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a Canon GL2 mini DV. And this is what I used. I think it was in 2013. And the Van Halen from 1979 at Selland Arena was captured with this thing.
Right, so you go from the one machine into the mini DV camera?
Well, no, it went through a projector.
I see. So
this is before the scanner. They made scanners, but I'm not going to spend $350,000 on the scanner. So eventually, this company in Texas, they started making these ones that were more, economical. They still were expensive, and right now the model he makes now is over $7,000, and I'm not going to blow another huge amount of money like that because I don't really think it'll make a big difference. What'll end up happening is when you increase the definition, if you bump it up from 1080 to 2K, that's what it is now, it's just going to make all the little specks and all the other crap show up so much better. That's what's really going to help. It's the definition of the very small, undesirable things. And doing the restoration was interesting to do, but it was a lot of work.
So how did that process work? Do you go in and painstakingly try to take out the imperfections on that video? Because some of it looks really clean, like almost like digital and modern.
Yeah, you have to use a program. I use Photoshop, and you get in there and you can do a lot of stuff with that program. They don't show The Wizard of Oz anymore. And so I decided, well, I want to watch that movie because I've always liked Judy Garland. And so I bought it, and I bought this, I can't remember what it was. It was some thing. It had a bunch of different stuff on it. And one of the things, they were talking about how they did the restoration. And they were showing them do this stuff to the Wizard of Oz. They did all kinds of stuff as far as cleaning it up. And when I saw that, I thought, wait a minute, I wonder if I can do this. So I had to figure out what program they used. And then I started working on it. And I was really, really surprised at exactly how good it worked and what you're able to do with that program. You can eliminate just about anything. And when you're working with film, you have all kinds of problems. You have emulsion scratches, you have emulsion blips, you have holes burnt in the film, because if the film gets stuck in the projector, you got to have your hand on the knob and immediately turn it off, or it's going to burn a hole in it with like that fast. So I can't correct a burnt hole, but I can do emulsion things. Usually you see a blue line or a blue speck, that's where the emulsion's coming off.
Well, I actually have a lot of experience with Adobe Photoshop, and so I'm familiar with the principles of everything that you're saying here. So, when you're actually doing the restoration work, you're actually able to level that color balance and everything. Because this footage that you have on this channel, man, is breathtaking. I can't. Everyone who's watching the show this week, we'll be putting up a link in the descriptions of how you can find your channel on YouTube, but I encourage everyone to go out and take a good hard look at what he's actually putting together out there, because there are guys out there that have tons of reels of film that are just rotting away in closets, lost forever, and we can restore those films. The work that you're doing is way more impressive to me than any of the kind of stuff that we're doing, because working with video is easy in comparison to what you're pulling off and what you're putting together here for everybody to see and witness this footage. You've got footage of Angel, and nobody has footage of Angel and the Gods and those Casablanca bands. Really, really crazy stuff that you guys have, man.
Yes, Angel is one of my favorites. That was actually the first thing that I ever tried to work on.
Wow. Yeah, there's there's so little footage about that. I mean, so if you're a big Angel fan, maybe you've heard of this. Do you know that, or I have heard a rumor, I believe it to be mostly accurate, that they actually made or were at least did test shots for an Angel movie that was supposed to be kind of like the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park film, but it was going to be Angel, because I know at one point they were trying to market Angel versus Kiss, kind of like the good guys and the bad guys, or good and evil kind of thing. I mean, they experimented around with that. But apparently they actually did, have an Angel movie in mind. And I know that they filmed some concert scenes for sure for that film that have been the stuff of folklore for many, many years. I mean, have you ever heard about that film at all?
No, I haven't. I've heard they were thinking about making some kind of a documentary or some kind of a movie, but I don't know anything about it. And in this point in time, they've never purchased any of the footage or anything else. So they know about it. They've seen it.
Yeah,
they've talked about it, and they don't have anything.
Yeah, they have very little. I actually have about 35 or 40 minutes of Angel footage that you probably have. We call it the Sinful Archives in my little circle of friends. But, it's pretty much everything that there is. And that was actually given to Master Tape Network from Frank the singer. So, I mean, that quality is as good as they have. So, there's just so little on them, man. I don't understand how that fell through the hands of time so much, man. But, that footage you have of Angel is some of the very first stuff I've ever seen of them beyond that 35 minutes of footage that I had from Frank, man.
Yeah, funny story about that show. I was there in the front row, but it was prior to me meeting those guys. That was in May. I think it was May 10th. And I met those guys, actually April 29th was the first time I met those guys. It was at a show we were doing at some gigantic horse barn in Clovis. And the place was called Horse World, and it was the biggest keg party you've ever seen. And it was on the front page of the paper. It was the only thing I can compare it to is Altamont, because it ended up being a complete disaster, and the cops pulled a plug on us, and cops were beating people's heads in, and it was crazy. And I was only 17. I was just a little punk. That's what they called me.
Oh, man. So there, I noticed that you do have some stuff that's not Super 8 film. There are some video clips and some full performances, like Def Leppard from 1992. Did you film that footage, or where did that footage come from?
No, that's another guy. There's four guys. There's the filmer, and then there's the audio guy that I met, and then there's myself, and then there's another guy. His name is Barry, and he's the guy that shot Def Leppard. I was there too, but I had, like I said, I was an audio guy, so I was in there with a DAT machine.
Right.
And so he shot the video, and that's how I got that.
So how did you get to become the owners of these tapes? How did you become the historian? Because I consider what we do, very important archiving work. What we're trying to do with Master Tape Network is create a digital library for the whole world. But, tell me a little bit about, what it is. How did you become the owner of these films, man?
Basically just collecting stuff over the years. And I was partners with DJ. Okay, he gave me everything of his, and I would give him everything of mine, because I got into the DATs, and DAT was not cheap. It was about $1,000 for the machine, and you had to get another battery. So it was my DAT machine, his microphones, but it really wasn't a partnership, because I was doing everything myself. I was smuggling everything in myself. Half the time he wasn't even there, right. But he still got copies, because I had copies of all of his stuff. I used this format. I don't know if you're familiar with digital compact cassette. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I have all of DJ's crap. I shouldn't say that, but I have all of his stuff on these DCCs.
Right.
They're way more reliable than DATs. because I've owned a bunch of Sony DATs, and they're all in the garbage can a long time ago.
But how did you get a hold of the Super 8 films, the actual films that you did the scans from? I mean, are those on loan to you? Did you purchase them? I mean, what are you going to be doing with that stuff?
The guy that shot the films gave them to me. And like I said, I'd done them previously. I did these telesins, which is you're using a projector with a telesin device in front of it, which is like some mirrors, because everything, like I said, is upside down and backwards. So everything has to be reversed. And then you put a camcorder in front of it, and there's a big lens. I don't have the device anymore. I got rid of it.
I'll find something and put a picture up.
I have pictures I can give you of the exact
perfect
stuff that I used. But I did it on high 8, and then we moved on to mini DV. And then we got this setup, which was a projector. It was mounted on a board, on a piece of wood, and this projector sat on one end of it, and on the other end was this big box. It was about this big square, and had this gigantic lens on it, and it was all set up. All you had to do was get a camcorder in front of it, and I did that in 2013, and that's when I used this. Well, actually, first I used an XL2, but I didn't like that because it had, those cameras are old. So I ended up getting this, and for a while I liked that. But then I wanted to go to the next level. I wanted to do HD, and the guy that owned the films convinced me to go on ahead and get the scanner, because I just wanted to get an HD camcorder, which would have been a mistake, because you can't do the restoration with video. You have to. You can if you want to convert the video to an image sequence. And then you take the image sequence and you do it, but it's 30 frames a second. So instead of 3,600, it's going to be almost double that. So it's almost 7,000 frames, per, however many minutes. And that's a lot. That's a lot. You're going to be sitting in front of a monitor for a long time. These people do it professionally. If you want to see how they did it, just get the Wizard of Oz remastered little box set, and one of the discs has interviews with these people that did everything.
Well, let's actually do, so people can have respect for the amount of time that you've put into this, because I already understand what you're saying here and completely understand the principles of how long this takes in man hours. So let's say you've got 10 minutes of footage from Aerosmith from 1978 that I see up here on your channel, man. How long did it take for you to scan that in from 0 to 60? How long did it take for you to scan it in, clean it up, and then get it all the way up on your channel, man? How many hours do you think you put into that project? Just that 10 minutes?
I couldn't really say, because the scanning, it doesn't take that long. It takes 30 minutes to scan one film with this particular machine that I had. But as far as sitting in front of a monitor and taking out all the little specks and whatever, that's a lot of time. Because see, what happens is you can miss things. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was I trained my eyes that I can't even watch anything anymore. I'm looking for those specks. I'm looking for that stuff. It's just the way I'm programmed now.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, I've done this Van Halen. I've been working on this thing for 6 months, and then I'd sit down and I'd relax, and then I'd go, wait a minute, the hell was that? And then I go back and go, wow, I missed something way up over here in the corner somewhere, or you know what I mean? Because normally with something like this, you've got some guy with a spotlight on him or something like that, and he's lit up. So you're drawn to that. But there might be specks of crap over here or over here where there's not as much light, so it's more difficult to see it. And to be honest, after you sit in front of the monitor for 10 hours, you're ready to just say, I need to take a break, because it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Any kind of Adobe Photoshop work is many hours. I'm talking about doing something simple, like doing a poster layout. I can sit there and spend 12 hours just staring at the image, moving something to the right or left. Like, making it perfect and everything. So I absolutely respect the amount of time that you've put into this project. So speaking of the amount of time you put into this project, so what is your ultimate goal to do with this footage? Are you hoping to lease it out for documentaries? What is it that you're wanting to do with your footage? Just for your YouTube channel only, as this is as far as it's ever going to go? But what is the big picture for you, man?
Well, I don't really have one. Basically, I'd like to let people watch this stuff and enjoy it, because you may think you've seen it and you may think it looks pretty good, but you really haven't seen it until you look at the uncompressed file, because they're huge. Each 3.5 minutes or 50 feet is 10 gigs uncompressed. And so when you've got 15 or 16 films of AC/DC, it ends up being 200 gigabytes. So it's big. And what happens with YouTube is you lose everything in the shadows. So if you got a roadie standing in the shadows, you're not even going to see them anymore. These new ones are a little bit better. They're way better than what was done previous, but
oh man, I mean, I got to tell you, believe me, I understand the limitations of YouTube. They step on stuff and butcher it. You've got to do as much as you can on your end to ensure that when you give it to them, because they're doing something on their end with their conversions that's really takes away from it, man. I mean, I'm always trying to find ways to level things differently on my side so that when they get done doing their compression, it'll still look as close to what I wanted it to look like as possible. So I totally understand what you're saying on that.
they smash it, they crush it, they destroy it.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's because, think about how much data YouTube is storing. I mean, if you pull up clips that were uploaded 10 years ago, and that stuff's just there forever and ever and ever. I mean, I always wonder, will there come a day when YouTube wipes out, a lot of their content? And when that happens, a lot of this stuff will be gone forever, man. So, hopefully there will be independent streaming apps that will be able to support this content outside of YouTube, which is one of the main goals of Master Tape Network, man.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with any of that. I just know that, I use Final Cut Pro now, and with that program, I can load the file in there, and then they call it, I can't remember what they call it. I think they call it share or something like that. And you can create a file to make a DVD, or you can create a file uncompressed, or you can create an Apple ProRes or whatever. And you can also upload it to YouTube or Facebook or wherever. So the program actually does the compression and whatever that is required by them. But it doesn't look the same. When I get done with that and I look at it and I go, okay, it looks good. Then I put it up there. Whatever they do to it makes it look even, less pristine, let's say. So they're still doing something, even though I'm using Final Cut Pro and using the codec or whatever it is to make the file to go up there. They still do something to it that knocks it down even more. So I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I'm pretty sure they're screwing up the audio too, because I remastered everything 24-bit 48K, and when I play these things, stuff starts coming off the walls because these things here, there's no loss. There's nothing.
Right.
No loss. If you take, let's see, I'll give you an example here. Okay, here's one. Can you see that? Is it upside down?
I can see it. Something 1978 Fresno on fire. Oh, yeah, there it is. Van Halen, man.
Yeah, this is first gen, even though this is DJ's handwriting. It says original, but I don't think it is, because his originals were stolen. So all there is a reel-to-reel. Now I have a DAT and DCC and everything else of the reel-to-reel, but I went through Glenn's box and bang, I found this. And this is flat. The reel-to-reel's EQ'd. Glenn never played this. It's sitting in a box. And this is actually what I used this time around, was this tape here.
Cool, man.
And my point is, if you take this tape and you make a cassette copy of it, you're going to completely lose bad. If you take this tape and you put it on this DCC, you lose nothing. And that's the way I did them. I did all these things flat, no EQ, no nothing. Just I used okay, this here. See this?
Mm-hmm.
TCD 5M. If you want to record concerts, get one of these. They don't make them anymore, so you're going to have to replace the belts. And I did it, and it's not easy. I have two of these. This is Barry's. This is the tape deck actually that recorded David Lee Roth in 1986, and a lot of other things that Barry did. And then this is the Filmer's, the same machine.
Right.
This was used from 1981 till whenever. So that's what I used. I played DJ's originals on one of these and plugged it straight into a DCC and just did it flat on these tapes, and sounds wicked. The Van Halen from 1979, people think they got a killer copy of that from DJ. What they don't realize is that DJ loved mini discs. He never pulled out his original to give anybody a copy of anything, so he would use a mini disc master. Not only that, but he liked to use the mini disc in the LP mode, which means it got compressed even more, because the mini discs were only 74 minutes, and most of his shows were longer than that, so he didn't want to spread it out over two mini discs. So what you end up with is something really compressed, and that's what people have. They don't know because they've never heard something like this.
Yes.
So unless you listen to the stuff on my channel, I've had a lot of people comment about, it sure sounds a hell of a lot better than what I have, and that's because it's not compressed and it's flat and it's right off the original. I supervised it. I said, bring your tapes over, and he did, and he left them here for a couple of weeks, and I did everything myself. I used to watch him when he would give people a copy of something. He'd take his equalizer and he'd start twiddling with it, and he'd knock down all the frequencies. He'd degenerate it. He didn't want anybody else to have this. He wanted to be the guy that had the best copy, and that was a big deal to him.
Well, I mean, I can understand that to some degree, but at the same time, I mean, I'm coming from this new thing. We're in a new time, man. I mean, I'd love for everybody to have everything as close to perfect as possible, man. I mean, and I definitely think that your channel is delivering the best content of this kind on YouTube, hands down, man. I mean, I literally watch your channel, I will just let this thing roll. I mean, that footage of Cheap Trick, the footage of Heart, I mean, that pretty much the whole year of 1978, it's on your channel, man. It's really cool. If you want to relive never before seen footage of every band of that day, it's there to be had on the Fresno Media Restorations channel, man. And I want to thank you right now for joining us, and we've had a really good time, and we want to definitely have you back in the future. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you might want us to cover, that you want everybody to know about what you're doing, or maybe even just a message to the collector community, man?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it. It's a lot of money involved to do this. It's a very expensive hobby. It's actually what it is. And I do it because I really like, I like live music because I'm a musician, but I also like the quality of what they did. I like things raw. I have a lot of people complain about, oh, they won't do a pro shot, this and that. I don't want that. You can have it. I want something that's raw and, uncut.
Dude, that's beautiful. I mean, I gotta tell you, like that hit me right here, because that is exactly what I feel and the way I feel about bootleg footage, man. I mean, I want it to be real. I want to see what it was like in the arena. I want to be able to experience that sensation over and over again forever, man. And I know that that's what brings the community together, because when you can find that piece of video for the show that you were at, I mean, a lot of people don't know that the very first concert I ever saw was Elvis Presley in 1974 in Houston, Texas. I was 4 years old. My parents took me to the Astrodome to see Elvis, and I asked my mom, I remembered I was many years later, and I said, Mom, did we see Elvis when I was a little kid? I think he was wearing like a blue outfit, and he was on a revolving stage, and he was like way out in the middle of the stadium, like really far. And turns out I found a piece of Super 8 footage of Elvis Presley from Houston, Texas at the Astrodome from the actual show that I was at. And there it was. They bring him out on a tractor trailer to the middle of the room, or to the middle of the football field. And literally, if you were front row on the 50-yard line, you were still like 60 yards from Elvis. But I mean, I found that footage, and I mean, to me, that's the magic of bootlegs, and I think that's what attracts guys like you and me to this medium. And we find this footage, and you know, I want it raw and real, so that's something that we share in common, man. I just wanted to share that with you here now, man. Just, we feel exactly the same, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and letting everybody know about your channel and about the work that you do, man.
Well, thanks for having me on, and we're probably more similar than we know as far as liking live music. And I like it, you know, things aren't as loud. When you went to a concert in 1976, Ted Nugent was trying to hurt you. When he played the Warner's Theater in 1975, he cracked the ceiling. It was so loud that it cracked the foundation of the ceiling. And when he was at Selland Arena, he goes, look out. And it was just his voice screaming, and the place is shaking. It's just his voice shaking the arena.
Wow.
And you're not going to experience that anywhere. And he was actually trying to hurt people. And he's a guy that caused them to pass legislation right after that in 76, limiting the amount of decibels.
Really? That's something I've never heard of, man. That's cool information, man. Thank you again for joining us, man, and we're going to see you in the very near future again. Thanks a lot, Danny. We'll see you next time, man.
All right. Thank you, Roy.
Cool. So there it is, me and Danny Miller getting together and talking about what he does with Fresno Media Restorations, man. I hope that someday on the network we will be able to host some of his footage without watermarks. You know, Danny's a really cool guy. In fact, when we wrapped up the interview, there was about 15, 20, maybe even 30 more minutes of additional talk between me and Danny. I had turned off my regular camera, but went ahead and used my webcam. So at the end of the show this week, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, and I'm going to go ahead and put up an uncut clip of me and Danny just talking bootleg talk, man. We shared some great stories about Angel, Ted Nugent. He talked about Ted Nugent actually cracked the ceiling in Fresno, and they had to put noise limitations on bands at the Fresno Arena. I mean, he told a bunch of cool stories, so I was like, this is great stuff, and I'm going to put that clip at the end for everybody to see, man. But that's just about it for this week, dude. What else do you got for me? Anything at all?
Beware of blue-haired bitches.
All right, man. You know, if you guys want to get a Doyle signature, I'm sure he's going to be at a convention somewhere soon. Even though
he can't wait to meet you.
Yeah, he cannot wait to meet you, man. But make sure you have your $50 warmed up. Make it quick, and you know, don't look him in the eye. That's the number one rule. And that's it, man. I'm Roy Goddamn. He's Eric Lawton. I want to give a shout out to our Patreons. Support the app, the only app that will keep the future of bootlegs alive forever. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, baby, I get around. You
And I did not buy this amplifier because it's the same thing Eddie Van Halen used. It was just kind of coincidence that I ended up in San Francisco and I couldn't buy a brand new one. I didn't have enough money. So I had to buy this old used thing from I don't know. They made these between 1966 and 1968. And it's a lay down mains, plexi, no master volume, super bass, with the filter caps underneath. They're not on the top, and that's what he used. And then I love this amp. I mean,
man. So
that's why I've never sold it. I've seen these go for $6,000 on eBay.
yeah, I was just about to say that is a beautiful piece of vintage equipment, man. I mean, yeah, you've got really amazing vintage equipment. I have a few cool mics and old cameras, but yeah, man, you've got a lot of really great stuff there, man.
Yeah, I didn't screw around. I like the best. I like the best quality. So I use the best microphones. I use DATs. Then later on, I use mini disc. I use this thing. You want a good mini disc? There you go.
Yeah, man. I'm serious, man. I have ultimate respect for the level of quality that you seek and that you've achieved and held on to, man. I mean, I'm really a quality buff, so I understand exactly what you're saying, dude.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's an expensive hobby, especially if you're into film, because film is a whole nother deal. It's nothing like video. Video's easy. You know, you can use one of these things. This, here's a capture box. Whoops, almost yanked this thing out. You know what this is, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, this is it. If you want to capture video, you use this. You don't use anything else.
Is that a Canopus?
Yeah, it's ADVC-110. This one's blown up because they're real touchy and sensitive, and they don't make them anymore, so they're really hard to find.
Yeah, I know. I actually have to buy them on eBay. We have a whole team of guys that work with us, helping us to digitize high 8 and 8 millimeter videotapes, and we all have the same equipment, and that way everything matches. And once we back everything up, we back it up ×3 so that statistically speaking, there's no way we could ever lose the data because there's 3 copies of it. There's just no way all 3 are going to go down at once. And yeah, man, I mean, we've got our whole thing going over here too. I mean, we literally have a 6-man team of guys who are digitizing tapes. You know, I do a lot of the major stuff here at my house for myself, but you know, but there are, you know, we actually just we're actually just about to get like 3,000 high 8 and 8 millimeter masters from a guy named Kevin Weinstein in New York. He's one of the most important video filmer guys of all time. He filmed over 3,000 concerts, and we're going to digitize all 3,000 of his concerts. And some of them, it's really crazy. We have to take the audio off of a VHS source because he no longer has the tapes that he used. They've been lost or damaged. So, I mean, it's going to be a massive 3 to 5 year project with everybody going around the clock, man. So,
yeah, the only drawback with high 8, it doesn't really stand the test of time. You may end up with tapes that have a lot of video noise on them because Glenn shot a ton of the filmer. He shot a ton of high 8. Because that's what he used, and then he moved on to mini DV. I just got through doing. He just sent me a bunch of stuff, and I was doing this thing here. Okay, this Kiss Soul Arena 2000. It's got audio dropouts all over it, and it kept shutting down the video, kept freezing up. So I go, what the hell's going on? I was using a Adobe Premiere Pro to capture it. I had to go over here on this PC and use Sony because the audio dropouts were there, but it wasn't freezing up the video.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of times we will go in and, like try to find external audio and put it with the video. I mean, and in a lot of cases that's not possible, but, I mean, dude, seriously, on my team of people that help us, we have guys that do nothing but audio. Some of them are super gifted. They do things that, I mean, I can only equate to some sort of voodoo magic. I mean, when they send me the tapes or the stuff that they have fixed that I filmed, I'm like, I can't even recognize this as the same piece of audio that I gave you. It's incredible, some of the stuff that you can do with remastering on computers, man. I mean, I do a little bit of that, but, nowhere near at the levels that guys like you and some of the other people that we work with do it at, man.
Well, you need a good audio source. And in order to do that, you sit your ass right down in front of the speakers and you take it, and it's brutal. And a lot of times I'd go in there and I go, oh, damn it, I forgot my earplugs. Oh well, there goes my ears. You know, I mean, that's the way it is. You got to be as close as you can get to the speakers. And then having another guy hiding in the bushes with a video camera, that's the way to do it. You got a guy down in front getting the audio, and then you got a guy somewhere doing the video, and then you slap it all together.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That is definitely the way it is done, man.
Because camcorders really aren't made to capture. If you tried to go down in the front with a camcorder, it would be unlistenable. Because I have a lot of stuff that other people shot that I recorded audio for, and I was going to put some of that stuff on YouTube, but I decided I didn't want to do it because it's not my video, and my channel is all my stuff. You know, that stuff of mine's all over the place. It's on other people's channels, and I was running around trying to get them to pull it down, and I had a couple of guys challenge me, and I fixed them. I said, you want to challenge me, I'll fix you, and that's it. But I gave up doing that because I can't run around messing around with everybody that wants to rip me off, and then they don't even give me credit. They turn around and try to take credit for himself, and I don't know what you think about that, but I would bet you'd be kind of upset.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's like the old West on YouTube, man. I mean, you know, and I hear you. I mean, I find people that put up videos that, you know, are like 10th gen VHS of things that I filmed. And, you know, I mean, once I put up like from the high 8, done at 60 frames per second and all the conversion stuff I do, sometimes I'll message them and say, hey, you know, out of respect, take this down. But I mean, if they don't, man. Sometimes literally people have things up on YouTube channels from 7, 8, 10 years ago that like they don't even have the password to get into that account. So it's literally trapped on YouTube. I've had guys tell me, oh, dude, I would take it down, but I can't sign into my account anymore.
And you bought that? I wouldn't buy that.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, again.
No, there's nothing you can do. You can watermark the hell out of it. But you got to be really brutal. Or I tried to be nice, and they stopped it out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hear you on the watermarks, man. I do a very light watermarking on the stuff that we do. I do 3 small tags for literally 3 to 5 seconds throughout the course of a show because you and I just went over the fact that we can't stop them. So I figure, why bother? Like, if they're going to have me, because again, I'm putting it up here. My reasoning is, from on YouTube, you and me both know that it's sonically butchered in every possible way. But, you know, but I mean, to other people that have 5th gen VHS copies of things I filmed, my YouTube video looks so superior to what they have that they're doing it out of love. They're pulling it down, making a copy for themselves. In some cases, they might put it up on their YouTube channel, but I find less and less of that happening, man. But, you know, it does happen. It's just an unfortunate side effect. I mean, the cool thing about what we're trying to do, which I was trying to tell you about before, is we're putting together a streaming app that will exist independent of YouTube, okay? And the cool thing with that is that you will not be able to rip down the content. It's essentially, well, you can, but the steps you have to go through are really crazy. But essentially what we're trying to create is Netflix, but for bootleg concerts. Like, there will be a full interface. You will see an icon just like on YouTube for the concert, but it will say filmed by Roy Dam or filmed by Danny Miller. It will say, you know, if possible, we'll put what the equipment was that was used, like all of the data, because, you know, this streaming app that we're doing is, you know, we want it to be for everybody, but, you know, I'm sure that it will be mostly really big fans of live audience recordings. So they're probably going to really appreciate knowing where it came from, what kind of camera was used, all of that information. And, you know, by trying to get everybody to come together with Master Tape Network, we can actually make sure that the whole world has proper information instead of having to rely on people like the guy that you just described, people that put your stuff up without your permission. if there was one big digital library where all the filmers came together and made this happen together in some way and really did work as a community, which I know is a lofty goal, but if we did get everybody to come together, we could finally have one place where the world would be able to get accurate information about these recordings. And that's why I started this channel, and that's why I started this show, and that's how you and I ended up meeting. If I hadn't started this, we'd have never known about each other. And we've actually, I think it's really cool, man, because we've been able to come together here and tell a lot of people the proper information about what it is that you have, where it came from, all the information that we shared on the show, man. I mean, it is important. We have thousands of people paying attention every week. So it's really cool that you and I met, man. And that all came together because of this thing I call Master Tape Network. And we want to bring all the masters together, man. So I hope that you and I can, you know, share footage together and like make sure that we keep the history alive, man. I don't know. I mean, when the streaming app independent of YouTube comes, I mean, I'd really like for us to hopefully, you know, by that time you'll be seeing what we're doing, and hopefully we'll keep in touch. And Sunday, some of those films can come to Master Tape Network in full quality, and it won't be on YouTube, and people can't take it down. And you would be less worried about the watermarks and the stealing of the footage, because in order for them to take it down off of the streaming app that I have, they would have to essentially do real-time live captures of their screen, and just not that many people do that. I mean, it's out there, and I'm sure people will rip stuff down, but again, once we have one place that the world acknowledges is the holy grail of all live audience recordings, why would anybody need to steal it, rip it down, or do anything? Because it's there for everyone all the time.
Actually, I hate to say it, but in a few years, most people that really love this stuff aren't going to be around anyway. So,
well,
you know what I mean?
Believe it or not, man, I'm here to tell you, I run Facebook groups on Facebook that I have 7,000 people between all of my groups that I use to promote my show. And I have people on those groups, and this is what I hope gives you some hope, dude, because there are guys that it blows me away. It's like, what is your first bootleg that you ever got? Well, I got my first bootleg in the year 2000. Or I get the first bootleg video I saw was in 2004. And these guys are in their 20s and 30s. It'll never die, dude. I promise you that. It'll never die. And what I'm doing to archive it, what you're doing to archive it, if everything goes my way, dude, we're going to have one big pool that the world knows of, one digital library, man. But you know, I mean, dude, there are young people that do appreciate bootlegs, and if it wasn't for the footage that you have, and if it wasn't for the footage that I've put up myself, and Willie and Joe and Kevin and all the guys that we talk about on my channel, if it wasn't for those guys, man, these young people would not have this stuff. They would have whatever home video Kiss put out, and then it goes right back to what you and I talked about earlier. It's polished. It's not what it really was like. It's a fantasy version of what it was. I mean, sure, professional footage is beautiful and I enjoy it, but that realism and that raw rock and roll stuff that you and me were talking about, that's, you know, that's the stuff that you and me are making available for everyone, and they do appreciate it, and it will live forever, dude. I know I talk a lot. I should probably shut up now, but
That's okay. Here, I like the music. I don't go to see these guys because I want to look at them. They're mostly, in my opinion, ugly SOBs and drug addicts and just degenerates, actually. And you know, like Gene Simmons, I don't know if that's the right word. He seems like he's kind of an opportunist, and you know, he'll turn around and, you know, make a buck off you. But I don't know. I'm into the music. You know, I buy the records and I like the music. And then going to see it, it's great. When I was a kid, it was great when the lights went down. But back then it was different because the sound would hit you. And I mean, I saw Judas Priest at the Warner's Theater, and I knew who they were. And they opened up with Exciter, and that sound, man, was ridiculous. You know, I had some guy ask me, "Do you have this Judas Priest off the board?" And I wanted to tell him, if you did get it off the board, it would be Rob Halford all over the place with a harmonizer on him, because he's this much louder than everything else. So soundboards generally don't sound as good as an audience recording, because the guy is mixing the sound off the speakers. They don't generally use headphones to get the mix right. And when it sounds good coming off the speakers, it doesn't usually sound as good off the board. A lot of people were going on and on about all this Van Halen stuff from 1979 that was just released, and I listened to one of them all the way through, and my conclusion was, yeah, this is interesting to hear, but there's no bass guitar. The drums are muddier than hell. You can't hear anything, and Roth's already shot. I mean, he's not singing. So the 79 thing at the beginning of the tour that's off the sound system is just much more my style, because it's real intense and punchy. The bass is there, the drums are there. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they're the Van Halen 79. I know a lot of people think that they have crummy, messed up cassette copies or whatever because there's dropouts. That's the PA system going down. Okay, where they were sitting, it was dropping out. You can hear sometimes it sounds really good. You may not be able to, I don't know. I put the whole thing up there just because people were talking about it. So I go, well, I'm going to put all these still images in here where there's no film. And then people didn't like that. They said, "What? Why are you putting
it's awesome, man. Don't worry. You're always going to have naysayers. It's really cool. I mean, I watched it. I'm just like, this is fantastic, because just the sheer fact that someone took the time to make it that presentable. I mean, that's respect for the footage, man. And that's what drew me to your channel, dude.
It's a lot of work, though, because I had to go through those three. Van Halen's probably over 30,000 frames. So I had to go through there because they're moving around. And when you got somebody who's moving or jumping up and down or whatever, it's not going to look crisp and sharp. So you need somebody standing still. And most rockers don't, especially Ted Nugent, and, who I think is very underrated. I mean, that guy is insane, the things he does. His drum riser in 78 is, I don't know how high, it's at least 4 feet high. And he takes a running leap with the guitar on and just bang, he's on top of that thing, no problem. Spins around, and he's doing all these high leg kicks, and then he just goes boing, and he's way up in the air, and then he comes down bouncing all over the place wearing the guitar. So that's really impressive. People talk about how great David Lee Roth was. I'd like to see David Lee Roth. Van Halen didn't have anywhere near as high of a drum riser, and they had steps. So because he broke his ankle or something in 79. So he probably had to be careful. It maybe even had a pin in it. Who knows? So he couldn't, I know sometimes he does these really high jumps, like on the US Festival. It's really impressive. But a lot of the times he doesn't. And I don't know. That's why I like Ted Nugent. I was going to show you this thing right here. Can you see it?
Thirst. Gotcha. TNT. What is that exactly?
Thrust, TNT, and Alloy. TNT, that's the middle group. That's me. And Alloy, DJ was a sound man for Alloy. That's how we met. Because we were up there doing our sound check at the Warner's Theater for this thing. And DJ came up and he says, because I'd already met him at Horse World, but I didn't talk to him. Comes up and he says, "Hey, the sound man's an idiot. Would you guys like us to mix for you?" And I said, "Nah, I don't know, man. I didn't know anything. I was 17. I mean, I knew how to play guitar. I didn't know anything else." So what he did was, they recorded it. They recorded the whole thing, and he sat out there heckling us the whole time. "You guys suck. You asshole." And then later on, when I met him, the first thing I wanted to do was go out there and listen to that tape. And I said, Who's this guy? It was him, He didn't tell me at first. And later on, he felt guilty and he admitted it. And then I went, "Oh, wow, I recognize his voice." Anyway, that's where I met him, this thing here. TNT.
Cool, man. Well, that's awesome, dude. I really enjoyed our conversation, man. I'm going to wrap this up. My phone has been going off the charts. But yeah, man, let's keep in touch. And I'm going to have your show will be up this coming Wednesday. You'll be on. So yeah, I'll send you a link and let you know everything. And if you are on Facebook, we should contact each other on Facebook. It's, I could show you the groups, and there's just a lot of people you can see and just observe we have a lot of people paying attention and stuff, and it's a cool little community we have going, man.
I have a Facebook page. It's Danny Miller.
Gotcha.
I don't know how I can send you a link. I used to have stuff. See, I played in a Led Zeppelin tribute band, and I was posting stuff of me playing Led Zeppelin, and I got my head ripped off. And I said, "That's it. I'm not putting any of that up there because I know Led Zeppelin. Okay, I knew all their songs. We played everything. We played the Rain song. I worked the drummer, owned a music store. So when I wanted a double, I had 2 double necks. I had the red one and the white one. Not Epiphone. I had Gibson, Wizard amps, walls. Anything I wanted, I got because the sky was the limit. And so I put some of that stuff up there. I was a lot fatter then. I gained a lot of weight because I quit drinking and doing drugs. And so I gained weight. These people just tore me to pieces. And I thought, wow, to hell with that. You lose. I'm not going to put any more of that up there because I don't want to take
I know, man. I know. I believe me, I'm very aware of, we actually call it the internet hate machine. That is Facebook. I mean, Facebook is just full of people that want to say horrible things to other people in the privacy of their own home. It's an unfortunate side effect of social media, but it is what it is, man. I mean, it's just humans, dude. And, humans are pretty awful if you think about it.
Well, so is a praying mantis. If you look at my my Danny Miller page, I have my praying mantis up there. I was walking along and this thing jumped on my leg.
Right.
What was that? And I looked down, it was a praying mantis, so I got it on my finger, and they're real friendly, and I went and got my phone. I started snapping pictures of this thing. And so I got one up there, and they're vicious. They're wicked. They're evil. They chew after the male has to sneak up on them real slow. Because if the female sees them, they're dead, and they chew their head off. They decapitate them. And they have these wicked, you'll see, if you find a Danny Miller, you'll find anyway, I had it linked to YouTube, but I pulled it down because I didn't want to have any negative stuff.
That's okay, man. I'll find you. You'll get a friend request from a Roy Dam, and it has a Bat Boy from National Enquirer, Weekly World News, the Bat Boy guy. That's my picture. So
okay, well, yeah, I'll friend you, no problem. I used to friend people, but I don't know, it didn't work out. So I shut it all down. It was just there really for my friend. He's in Arizona now, so it was just there for him. And then I was letting some other people in there, and so anyway, I pulled everything down. I tried to link stuff up. I even had my own website with all these audio recordings, like this one here. This is one of my favorites. You seen this? I don't know if you can see it. Twisted fucking Sister.
Awesome.
From 1985. So anyway, I had all kinds of stuff up there on my own website. Nobody watched it. I heard one guy look at it. Those guys at one of these trading sites mentioned it, and they just slammed it. It was never heard from.
Well, I mean, if you care, I mean, we have 10,000 concerts. I mean, if I have anything that you want, you're welcome to it, man. I'll send you. I can just send you the file through Dropbox. You can download it, burn it yourself. I mean, dude, we have every band you can think of. I mean, everything. Just anything. Rap, hip-hop, pop, punk, country, anything.
So let me ask you a question. When did you start? Mid-90s or early?
I first started in I discovered bootlegs in 1984, 1985. I didn't start filming until 1992.
Oh.
So, because I was poor, I didn't have, actually, I shouldn't say I was poor. I made a bunch of money off bootlegs when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. I used to sell VHS videos through Circus Magazine. So eventually I finally got my first video camera, and I shot from 92 until 2003. And, and then in 2003, I stopped filming, and I kind of became more of a seller, like full-time selling. My story is really complex if you watch the show. I mean, I used to be involved with a small group of guys that would pull all of their money together, and put me on the road to go out and film bands. Kiss in particular was one of the big ones. And these 7 or 10 dudes would put up like $300 to $500 a piece. And then I would go out and film like 15 Kiss shows, and everybody got all of those shows. So for the first like 10 plus years of, my filming life, I was basically like a paid mercenary that went and filmed shows for collectors. And unfortunately, I was really into Kiss, so I spent way too much time on Kiss, but along the way, I worked for Marilyn Manson on official capacity, and I worked with Anthrax and L7, bunch of other bands. But, I would film any band that I could, and I mean, club shows, arena shows. We got into like hidden cameras where we would I had a camera that used to mount into a hat, and I could sit 3 feet away from the subject and film them with my head as a tripod. There's actually some of those are up on my channel now. There's an Ace Frehley and a Cheap Trick that I did from '94. You'll see I'm sitting 1 foot in front of them the whole time. But if you were there in the room, you would see I had a hat on, and it had a little piece of glass on the front, a little button on the front. I would pull the button off, and inside there was a camera that would stick out. And then I had external audio that ran down into a bag, and I would combine the audio and the video. So, I mean, some of that's up on YouTube. I mean, those are some of those hidden camera shows that I did are like really famous with collector guys and stuff, man.
Yeah, that's something. I never had a camera in my hat, but I had microphones. But like I said, I was an audio guy, and I'm really good at it. I've got some audio recordings that would.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can guarantee you were light years ahead of me, man. I used to use an Audio Technica, like a little pair of like shotgun sort of mics, and I pinned them into my hair.
Yeah.
I used to have like really long hair, and I would pin them into my hair, and that was what I used for audio. But then a few years later, we discovered this thing that we all call the Willie mic. And you would laugh, but it's a realistic microphone from Radio Shack. And it's, dude, I'm here to tell you, it's recorded some of the greatest audio I've ever heard. And not only do I use it, but every major filmer of my time used this particular mic. It was the mic of choice. And, I mean, we've talked about it on the show a million times. But yeah, what you did with audio was light years ahead of what I did then.
Here's 4041 Audio Technica.
Right.
That's all you need, but you got to have Phantom Power Box. It's just a pro mic. This thing, and then there's this thing here. This is really nice too, but you're not going to stand right in front of the speakers. This is an Audio Technica. I don't remember what the hell it is, but
that's what I have. The one, yep, that's it. It has the little pack you plug. Yeah, that's what I used to use.
Yeah, this is killer. This is like 18. I think it's 30 to 18K, and
yeah.
So this is 20 to 20, and this will handle 145 dBs SPL. Your ears will bleed before you'll clip this mic, but you will clip the input on your machine if you don't have enough of an attenuator on it.
Right.
This microphone here. The only drawback of using this microphone is that it will sound so realistic that any imperfections or any problems with the PA system you'll hear them. A lot of microphones will cover it up, but Audio Technica is really good. That's funny. That's what I use. This thing's great. I had this thing in a hat, but the only problem is when I'm going in, I got a Phantom Power Box, I got a microphone, I got a mix, I got this, I got that, and I'm jingling because I'm trying to go through the door. Yeah,
I only used the Audio Technica mic for about a year and a half. And then I switched over to this realistic mic, which I know sounds crazy, but just I'll have to send you some links to some of the videos.
Who made it?
Hold on, and I'll go grab it. We call it the Willie mic. Give me 1 second.
Well, my point is, Radio Shack wasn't a bad place.
Yeah, give me 1 second, man.
Okay.
So this is the realistic. I should know the numbers, but I don't. Whoops, there it is.
That's it?
This contraption right here. And whoops, there it is. So yeah, this was it. Now this one's all taped up. I mean, this is the one I used for bajillions of concerts, and I taped on the little windscreens with electrical tape 20 fucking years ago or whatever. But yeah, man. I mean, this was what almost every filmer that I know used from the years 1993 until. Dude, I'm not even joking. I have a friend. His name is Joe Burns, and he has a channel on YouTube called Market and 8. He's filmed over 5,000 concerts. Now he has a $3,000 Shoots microphone setup that will blow you away, okay, that he uses now today, modern day. But the other day, I told him I was thinking about filming a concert. And I said, so what mic should I go out and buy? And he said, do you still have a Willie mic? And I said, yeah. And he's all, just use that. He's all, it's still the best, one of the best mics in the world.
Well,
So, I mean, here it is. I pulled it out. I was like, because I was supposed to go out and film Ice Cube last night, and I was going to use this mic. But the show, the seats I needed got sold, and there was nothing I could do. And
is that the cop killer guy?
no, that's actually Ice-T.
Okay.
Ice Cube's from NWA, but
Okay, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
I mean, he's just I'm into all kinds of music, man. I have a deep love for all art, and I'm really into video. I mean, you're really into audio, and I love audio. Audio is clearly an important part of video, but
You
I'm
gotta
a video. You love the sound, and I love the picture. I don't know what it is. I've just always been into video my whole life since I was like 9 or 10, man. I mean, I just love video of anything. I mean, TV shows, just anything.
Yeah, well, I could see why you're into Kiss, because there's a lot of visuals. Same thing
Right.
with White Zombie. I recorded them a bunch of times.
Right.
And I even did Rob Zombie once, but it wasn't as good, I didn't think. But that's what's really cool is when there's visuals. You know what I mean? When you're going to do a video, if you just got 3 or 4 guys standing there like the Cars, and they're not really moving around, that's kind of, but when you got a guy jumping up and down, or,
Well, I'm here to tell you, this is probably really removed from your world, but I fell in love with Marilyn Manson in like 1994, 1995. I don't mean in love, anyway. So I just know I set out when his first record came out, I set out like, I'm going to go meet this guy and convince him that we think the same. I could video him, like blah, blah, blah. So I do that. I go out and I track him down. But I mean, Marilyn Manson, very visual thing. From 94 till 97, 98, man, I'm telling you, that guy, he rose off of bootleg videos. I mean, it was like nothing I had ever seen. There were people that would follow him around like deadheads. Like they would be in every city I would go to. I mean, they collected every video thing. It was just a really grassroots thing. And live recording really is one of the things that really propelled Marilyn Manson with fans around the world because, again, just I would see, people trading tapes and stuff just at a much higher level than other bands. Pantera, nobody cared nearly as much as they did about Marilyn Manson, So anyway, man, I'm going to go ahead and cut this for today, but, I'll send you some links. We'll keep in touch. And, that was cool, man. I actually ended up recording a bunch of this stuff at the end, and it was so good and so real with us just having bootlegger chat that,
yeah.
I'm going to probably make a little thing at the end of the video this week that'll be outtakes with just some of this, man. This was a lot of good stuff. I'll just use this crappy little webcam of mine here, but
let me tell you one little story.
Cool.
Marilyn Manson. Okay, I didn't want to record him, but the singer I was working with and the filmer, he wanted to go do him. He's a big Christian guy. Okay, the mayor of Fresno got that concert canceled because he was claiming he was a Satanist. They were holding prayer meetings on the steps of City Hall, and they got the fucking thing canceled.
Crazy.
Because of the Christian mayor in Fresno, who also banned Ozzy from ever playing Sullivan Arena again after he was going to play Sullivan Arena with Marilyn Manson, and there was some other group, And there was like bad weather that day, and Ozzy didn't want to fly, so he canceled the show. He'd already canceled a few months before because he got in a car wreck. They had the biggest riot you ever saw at Selland Arena. I went down there. I was going to go record it. And I go, damn, there's plenty of parking here. The whole fucking thing's canceled, and they banned Ozzy from ever playing again because of that, of the mayor of Fresno. I mean, that's Fresno, you know? So anyway.
That's Fresno, man. Well, definitely, man. Thanks a lot, dude. I'm going to hit the stop button because this thing takes about a half hour to process this thing we just did. But
okay,
we'll be in touch, man.
I got to tell you about that Marilyn Manson. That's something, I mean, I remember hearing him on the radio, and I don't know. He seems like and I recorded John 5 with Rob Zombie, and he sounds good until he just plays his guitar. He's got this really thin tone. I don't really like that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of John 5. It's me or Marilyn Manson is kind of a weird thing. I think it's like a lot of people in a lot of bands. The first 3 albums, and then after that, it kind of goes all over the road. And that's sort of me and the story of Marilyn Manson. And another thing that happened was when I met him, I grew to like become good friends with him, and he let me record him. And it was always with the promise of someday you'll be my video guy full time. And as soon as he hit the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, I was out the door. They were like, you don't need this guy. We don't care if he's been working with you for 2 or 3 years. Like, we have professionals.
Well, that's
what happened with me and Marilyn Manson.
That's pretty common. You help him, take him to the top, and then he says, I'll see you later, pal.
Yeah, I mean, literally the last time I saw him was at a signing in Seattle, Washington. I had moved up there. And he says, I'll call you tonight on my way to the airport. And he never called, and I never went back. Yeah. That was it. That was the end of me and Marilyn Manson.
Oh, I would have liked, they'd only sold 3,500 tickets, and Selland Arena holds 10,000. Now, right. I saw bands in there like Weezer. I don't think there was 2,000 people. I mean, the joint was empty. And it still went on, see? So they wouldn't have canceled the show just because of 3,500 tickets. But it's because that stupid mayor.
Right.
His name is Jim. I think his name is Jim Patterson. He's in the state legislature now. He's a complete dickhead. I mean,
really crazy, man. I mean, we would go to certain places, and the hysteria around him was pretty crazy at the time, man.
Yeah. Well, he pushed the envelope.
Well, of course he did. I mean, but again, I was much younger. I was 24, 25. He's my age. He's like a year older than me. So when I met him, it was like, he was my age. We were with 2 24-year-old dudes just hanging out, but anyway, man, yeah, that was me and Marilyn Manson, dude. But we'll keep in touch, and thank you so much, dude. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Okay. Nice talking to you.
You too, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one. You too. Bye.